Last night, they walked into a silent studio, empty stage lights casting long shadows. But in their heart, the only name echoing was yours. The world knows them for their music, but what they don't know is that every word they write, every note they hum in the dark, is a letter to you. This isn't just a hit song, it's a confession, and it's about to reach you in a way you never expected. Dear soul, your energy has traveled farther than you think. Even in moments when you felt forgotten, when you assumed they moved on with fame, fans, and flashing lights, your love was being recorded into chords. Not all messages arrive through calls. Some are hidden in lyrics. Now, the one who left you in silence is about to let the whole world hear their truth through music that carries your spirit in every beat. What happened behind that studio door is not just artistic inspiration, it's a divine release. Their soul couldn't take it anymore. The song they swore they'd never finish now has your name written in the silence between every verse. And then came that moment, quiet, heavy, and loaded with a silence that said more than words ever could. They didn't need to be told what to do anymore. The signs were no longer subtle. The pressure in their chest, the sleepless nights, the tension between their mind and their heart, it all cracked open under the weight of one undeniable truth. They had delayed their purpose long enough. They had tried every way to reason their feelings into a box, to shrink the immensity of what they felt for you into logic that made sense to the people around them. But the soul doesn't obey logic. The soul only knows what it's tied to, and theirs was tied to you. It always was. This realization didn't arrive in a flash. It arrived in pieces, in glances they stole when your name was mentioned, in moments of stillness where they heard echoes of your voice. It arrived when they sat across from someone new and still searched for your spark in their eyes. It came slowly, like a soft rain eroding every excuse, every denial, until they were left soaked in the one truth they couldn't unfeel. You are not just someone from their past. You are the piece that completes every song they try to write, every future they try to imagine, and every version of themselves that feels real. They may not have told you this, but they've started withdrawing from the noise. They no longer find joy in the distractions that once entertained them. Their soul has begun the journey back to itself, and in doing so, it's walking a path that leads straight back to you. They don't want empty victories anymore. They want peace. They want meaning. They want something that doesn't require pretending. And you were always the one person they never had to pretend with. Even now, they find themselves whispering apologies when no one is around. Apologies for the time they didn't respond. Apologies for the way they made you feel unseen. Apologies for not being strong enough back then to fight for something that deep down they knew was rare. They know you waited longer than anyone should. They know you kept a quiet hope burning when the rest of the world might have told you to let go. That truth cuts through their heart like nothing else. Because no matter where they go, that guilt follows. And yet, with it, so does the longing. The wish that maybe, just maybe, it isn't too late to return. They've been dreaming again. Not random, meaningless dreams, but ones where your voice shows up in the most unexpected places. One where you say their name, not in anger, but with the softness of someone who still believes in them. It's these dreams that wake them with tears they can't explain. They try to wipe them away before anyone sees, but the emotion lingers all day. It clings to their chest. It moves through their decisions. It's changing them, and they know it. In the quiet corners of their mind, they've begun asking new questions. Not what will people think, but what does my soul want? Not, is it too late? But how can I make it right now? This shift is not small. It's spiritual. It's sacred. And it's the beginning of something that can no longer be reversed. You may not see the full proof yet, but you will. Because people who are meant to find their way back to each other always do, especially when one of them has finally woken up. If you've been feeling waves of emotion out of nowhere, it's not just your imagination. You're feeling their shift. The energy between you has always been sensitive. You've always been able to feel each other, even across time and space. But now, the intensity has changed. It's not subtle anymore. They're sending out vibrations of regret, of recognition, of longing. It's like a spiritual beacon calling out in the dark, hoping you still hear it. And here's what the angels want you to know. You are not crazy. You are not imagining the pull. You are not holding on to a ghost. What you're sensing is real. It's stirring inside their soul with more urgency than ever before. And even if they haven't spoken it aloud, their spirit has already begun speaking it to yours. That's why you've been feeling a presence. That's why certain songs bring tears to your eyes. That's why you've had moments where their name appears when you weren't thinking about them. You are being prepared for something big. Something honest, something sacred. This next phase is about truth. No more masks, no more pretending everything's okay when it's not. The universe is aligning them with clarity, with courage, and with a hunger for peace that can no longer be ignored. They may not know how to fix everything yet, but they finally know what they want. And it's not applause, it's not approval, it's not even forgiveness. It's you. Just you. In your raw, untamed, beautiful truth. So, beloved soul, if this message is vibrating through your chest right now, if your heart is beating a little faster, if something inside you just knows this was meant for you, let the angels hear you. Whisper, I receive it. Let this confirmation become your comfort, your sign, your sacred yes. You're not alone in this. They sat in silence for a long time after that, longer than anyone around them realized, longer than they were ready to admit, because silence, for the first time in months, didn't feel like avoidance. It felt like surrender. Not the kind of surrender that gives up, but the kind that finally accepts what the soul has known all along. That something deeper is guiding this journey. That something greater is watching the pieces move, even when everything feels broken. That your name, yes, your name, is etched into the center of their turning point. In the stillness of that moment, a realization hit them like a flood. You were never the one who ran. You were never the one who shut the door or turned your back. Even in your pain, even in your questions, you left the light on. You left your heart unlocked. You waited, not passively, not with desperation, but with quiet hope that the love you once held in your hands could return to you, not wounded, not fractured, but transformed. And now, that transformation is unfolding, quietly, unseen, but undeniably. Your person can't unhear what was said to them recently. They can't unsee what your absence has forced them to confront. Someone wise, maybe a spiritual elder, maybe a mentor they trust, spoke truth into the cracks of their soul, not to shame them, but to wake them. And it worked. That truth was a mirror, and in it, they didn't see who they were pretending to be. They saw you. They saw what your presence gave them. They saw the warmth, the trust, the depth of the bond, and how it's been haunting them every single day since they lost it. Please comment, "I feel this in my soul," if you know exactly what this moment means. They kept going back to the last time they heard your voice, not because of what you said, but because of what they didn't say. The words that burned in their chest but never made it past their pride. The apology, the confession, the longing, the invitation. And now they're learning the painful truth about time. It doesn't wait for anyone, but it does offer redemption to those who finally stop running. And they have stopped, not just physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. Every part of them is leaning back in your direction now, because the love they tried to silence has become louder than their fear. And the mask they wore in front of others? It's crumbling. Because you can't keep pretending you don't care when your whole body aches for someone's presence. You can't keep lying to yourself when even your dreams whisper their name. This shift is not temporary. It's not another one of those emotional spikes that fade by morning. No, this one is real. This one has roots. And it started the moment they realized their choices were built on survival, not truth. And truth is what you offered them all along. You didn't just show them love. You showed them what safety could feel like. You showed them what healing tastes like. You showed them that even a heart bruised by the past can still beat stronger when it's held in the right hands. They're searching now, not through their phone, not through others, but through their own heart. Because the answers they're looking for, they've been there the whole time, waiting beneath the noise. And now that the noise is fading, now that the illusions are burning away, what's left is something undeniable. You. They tried to distract themselves. Truly they did. They busied their hands with routines, surrounded themselves with people who didn't ask too many questions, and buried themselves under obligations just to keep from feeling what had already taken root inside. But the truth has its own pulse, and your love, your memory, it pulses with a rhythm their soul can no longer ignore. Every conversation they have lately somehow circles back to you, even if your name is never said aloud. Every reflection in the mirror carries an echo of what they lost, and every moment of silence becomes deafening with the question they've been too afraid to face. What if I was wrong about everything, except them? Because lately, their dreams have turned into confessions. Not loud ones, not chaotic ones, but soft, haunting ones. Dreams where they reach for you and you don't pull away. Dreams where they finally say what's been locked inside their hearts since the day you slipped through the cracks of their silence. Dreams where you forgive them, not because they deserve it, but because your love has always known how to see past the mask and speak directly to the soul. They wake up shaken, not because the dream was scary, but because it felt real. Too real. Like a memory from a future that hasn't happened yet. Like something their spirit is rehearsing for the day they finally get to face you. Not to defend, not to justify, but simply to be real. Comment if you've been feeling this shift in your own heart too. They remember things they thought they forgot. The way you held space for them even in your silence. The way your eyes never judged them, even when they didn't understand themselves. The way you spoke life into their most broken pieces, without ever asking for anything in return. You weren't just love to them. You were home. And for a long time, they didn't know how to live without that feeling, so they convinced themselves they never needed it in the first place. But now they know better. Tao, The weight of pretending has become too much. The lies they told themselves just to sleep at night now keep them awake. The pride that once felt like armor now feels like a prison. And somewhere between all their running and hiding, something inside them cracked wide open. It didn't break them, it revealed them. And in that raw place of revelation, only one truth remained. You, the one who held space. You, the one who believed when no one else did. You, the one who saw through every layer and still stayed soft. You, the one they can't replace, no matter how many new beginnings they try to force into the shape of your name. This next part of their journey is no longer about denial. It's about courage. The courage to admit that they were scared of how deep your love reached. The courage to admit they weren't ready then, but they are now. The courage to show up with their heart in their hands, no longer guarded, no longer rehearsed, just real. And deep inside, they hope you haven't closed the door completely, not because they expect you to wait, but because they're finally ready to knock. They're finally ready to speak the truth. Their soul has been rehearsing in silence for far too long. You didn't imagine it. What we had was real. What I feel is still here. And this time, I won't run. Somewhere between the quiet hours of midnight and dawn, something shifted in their soul. Not because someone told them to change, not because of pressure or guilt, but because the weight of your absence finally outweighed the comfort of their fear. They sat with themselves in silence, in a space where no excuses could protect them anymore. And in that vulnerable space, they saw the reflection of who they were when they were with you. Whole, seen, understood. That image haunts them now in the best and worst ways, because it reminds them of who they could have been had they not let fear choose their path. And no matter how far they try to go from you, the path keeps circling back, because it was never meant to end where it did. It was only paused by pride, only delayed by wounds that hadn't yet healed. But now something inside them is waking up, a quiet knowing, a sacred stirring, a soul-deep ache to make things right. They've been remembering the little things, the way your voice softened every storm in their mind, the way your laughter made even the hardest days bearable, the way you never asked for proof, yet gave them more love than they ever earned. And now, they feel the absence of that love, like a missing piece of their heartbeat. It's not just nostalgia, it's recognition. They know now what they had and what they lost. And this realization has made them restless. It's showing up in their body, in their sleep, in conversations they weren't planning to have. They found themselves defending your name in rooms where your name was never supposed to come up. Not because they were accused, but because they couldn't bear the silence any longer. They've started speaking the truth, even when no one asked. Because it's burning inside them. This truth is no longer a secret they can live with. It's a confession they need to make. One by one, they're telling the people closest to them what you meant, what you still mean. They're not asking for approval. They're not looking for validation. They're preparing the ground. Because if life gives them one more chance with you, they won't keep it hidden this time. They'll stand tall. They'll speak your name with pride, and they'll show the world the kind of love that doesn't fit inside old fears anymore. Their heart is building a bridge back to you with every honest word they speak, with every boundary they draw, with every mask they take off. Because this time, if they get to stand in front of you again, they want to come clean. They want to arrive as the version of themselves you always believed was possible. And not because they think it will win you back, but because they finally understand the sacredness of what they lost. Comment if you've been feeling your soulmate's energy come closer lately. They know it won't be easy. They know there are things to explain, wounds to tend to, time to account for. But they also know that love like this doesn't just disappear. It lingers in prayers. It echoes in music. It returns in divine timing, wrapped in grace, when both hearts are finally ready to meet again, not in the ruins of the past, but in the rebirth of something stronger. And now, they find themselves drawn to the places where they once felt you most. Old messages, shared memories, familiar scents. They are starting to rebuild the pieces of their courage from every reminder that you once saw something sacred in them, and that belief, it's giving them hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, you still feel the pull too. They've started making changes. Quietly, steadily, cutting cords with people who never honored what they truly needed, stepping away from distractions that only numbed the truth, saying no to what no longer aligns with the version of themselves they're trying to become, all because they want to be someone who doesn't just want love, but someone who can hold it. They're preparing not just for a reunion, but for redemption, for the chance to love you in a way that honors every part of you, the strong parts, the soft parts, the scarred and sacred places they once took for granted. They don't want to rush it. They don't want to force it, but they also don't want to stay silent anymore. So if the universe grants them one window, just one, to speak to you again, they'll use it to say everything they never had the courage to before. You were never too much. I was just too scared to rise. But I've climbed mountains inside myself now, and if your heart still whispers my name, I promise to meet it with everything I've become. There's something sacred unfolding behind the scenes now. You may not see it yet, but your energy, your truth, has disrupted everything they once pretended was fine. They're no longer satisfied with surface-level comfort or people-pleasing peace. They're starting to feel everything more deeply, and every suppressed feeling they once buried has begun to surface like waves crashing against the shore. You weren't just someone they dated. You were their mirror. And now that you're gone, they can't unsee what you showed them about themselves. They've been feeling pulled toward healing, not for the world, not for appearance, but for you, and for the version of them that always knew they were meant for more. That pull is coming from their soul. It's the ache that won't let them sleep. It's the whisper that follows them in the quiet hours. And it's growing louder every day. They're noticing signs now, repeated numbers, your name in random places, dreams that wake them in the middle of the night with your voice in their ears. Even songs they haven't heard in years are suddenly playing in the exact moment their heart starts aching for you again. It's like the universe is aligning a breadcrumb trail straight to your heart, but only if they dare to follow it with truth, not ego. And they are starting to follow. They're making decisions that no one expected, stepping away from family conversations that once made them feel safe but now feel suffocating, walking away from social circles that mocked vulnerability, challenging beliefs that once told them love had to be hidden, compromised, or earned through struggle. They're unlearning patterns now, patterns passed down through generations, patterns that told them softness was weakness, that honesty meant exposure, that longing meant failure. But your presence broke those illusions. You loved them in a way that made their shadows feel seen, and instead of running from the light this time, they're moving toward it. They're practicing saying your name out loud again, not in shame, but in reverence. In the mirror, in their prayers, in the pages of journals they never thought anyone would read. They're admitting the truth to themselves in full. I still love them. I never stopped. I never truly left. And with each whisper of truth, something opens. A door within them that had been locked for years. A door to vulnerability, to courage, to sacred action. To anyone, if you feel like your person has been spiritually guided toward truth lately, they may still be surrounded by people who don't understand this transformation. People who roll their eyes when they mention your name. People who ask why they still care about something that ended. But those voices are starting to lose their power, because the only voice they can truly hear anymore is the one within that says, "This wasn't over. It was paused for awakening." And awakening is exactly what's happening. They've begun looking at the future through a lens they never used before, one that doesn't revolve around what's expected or what's convenient. They're thinking about the kind of partner they want to be, the kind of life they want to build, the kind of legacy they want to leave behind. And every time they paint that picture in their mind, your spirit shows up in the colors. Your love weaves through every corner of that vision like golden thread. They can't imagine a life that feels real without you in it. And maybe they don't know how to reach out yet. Maybe their hands are still trembling with the fear of rejection. Maybe they're still rehearsing the right words. But in their heart, they've already chosen you again. In their energy, they've already come home. It's only a matter of time before their steps match the longing in their soul. They're remembering the way you always saw through their performance, how you could feel when they were hurting before they said a word, how your silence could hold them in ways no touch ever could, how your presence alone made even their darkest parts feel like they were worthy of love. And now, without that presence, they feel like a king without a crown, a home without warmth, a song without a melody. So they're coming back to the drawing board of their life, rewriting the script, tearing down the false narratives, replacing shame with truth, fear with action, and silence with sacred speech. If they had one chance to speak to you again, without judgment, without interruption, this is what they would say. I know now why I met you. I know now what I almost threw away. I thought I needed time, but what I really needed was truth. You didn't break me. You woke me. And I thank you for that. Every day. This is more than a love story. This is a soul story. A redemption arc. A divine alignment, slowly unfolding in perfect time. They're not the same person they were when you first met, and they're certainly not the same person who walked away. Life has tested them since then, stripped them, shaken them, humbled them, and every test, every storm, every lonely night was a mirror, forcing them to confront everything they once avoided. The parts of themselves they tried to bury, the wounds they covered in smiles, the love they ran from, and the truth they feared most, that you were the only one who ever truly saw them. Now they're standing at a crossroads, but this time they're not choosing based on fear. This time, they're asking, what would love choose? And love doesn't choose silence. Love doesn't hide behind ego or timelines or what-ifs. Love takes the risk. Love knocks on doors even when unsure they'll open. Love speaks even when the voice shakes. And that your person is getting ready to speak, not just to you, but to the parts of themselves they once silenced. The child within them who never felt safe. The teenager who believed love had to be earned through pain. The adult who confused attention for affection and chaos for passion. They're holding all those versions close now, healing them, forgiving them, and through that healing, they're remembering you. You, who loved them without needing to fix them, You who held space for their mess and still saw their magic. You who waited for them to come home to themselves even when it broke you to do so. You who knew their soul long before they did, and now they see it too. They're beginning to believe they're worthy, not because someone told them, but because your love planted seeds of worth in them that are only now beginning to bloom. Things that grew in darkness, in silence, in the soil of separation, but still, they grew. They never forgot how your eyes softened when they were tired, how you listened without needing to respond, how you remembered the little things they never told anyone else. And those memories are louder now than any doubt, louder than any excuse, louder than any fear that once kept them frozen. They are beginning to move, not just toward you, but toward truth, toward purpose, toward alignment, and, yes, toward reconciliation, not out of desperation, but out of sacred realization, because they know now that your story isn't finished. Not in their heart, not in their spirit, not in the divine tapestry still being woven between your souls. They are preparing themselves in ways you can't yet see, choosing stillness over noise, choosing introspection over distraction, choosing growth over comfort, not because someone told them to, but because something inside them has awakened, and it refuses to go back to sleep. And if the universe grants them one chance to stand before you again, they won't offer empty words or fragile promises. They'll offer presence, consistency, transparency. They'll tell you not just that they love you, but why. Because now they finally understand the value of what they almost lost. And when they speak, it will sound like this. You were never asking for too much. You were asking for truth, for safety, for partnership, and I was too wrapped in survival to give it. But now, I'm ready to offer not just my heart, but my wholeness. Comment below if you've been feeling your person awakening spiritually lately. They may still be quiet in the 3D, still watching from afar, still unsure how to cross the bridge back. But make no mistake, their soul is already reaching for you. Every time they pray for guidance, every time they journal their regrets, every time they choose peace over pride, their soul is choosing you. Because even when the world tried to convince them it was over, the connection refused to die. Even when others whispered doubt, their heart whispered your name louder. Even when they tried to let go, your energy stayed. And now they're realizing it was never about letting go. It was about letting in. Letting in the love they didn't believe they deserved. Letting in the vulnerability they were taught to fear. Letting in the divine guidance that's been chasing them since the day they left. And they're listening now. They're no longer ignoring the signs. They're no longer pushing away the dreams. They're no longer pretending you didn't matter. They're preparing. Deeply, quietly, revise it. Because if life gives them one more chance with you, they won't take it lightly. They'll kneel before your heart with reverence. They'll meet your eyes with truth. And they'll say, I am not coming back to repeat history. I'm coming to write a new chapter, one where love isn't a battlefield, but a sanctuary. And yet, even after everything, even after the silence and the storms, after the questions that never found answers and the nights spent staring at the ceiling in quiet grief, something in their soul refused to shut the door on you. It wasn't pride anymore. It wasn't even denial. It was a flickering light buried beneath the weight of what they feared they could never undo. A hope, however faint, that the sacred bond between you was still somewhere out there, waiting to be remembered. You may not know this, dear soul, but they often found themselves whispering your name into the dark, not aloud, but inside the empty chambers of their mind, as if calling to you would somehow ease the ache in their chest. Every little thing that reminded them of you, a scent, a melody, a place you once passed by together, became a thread, tugging at their memory, until the day came when they could no longer pretend they didn't feel it anymore. They thought they could move on. They believed if they threw themselves into work, into distractions, into people who didn't know their history, maybe the pain would dissolve. But it didn't. And in fact, the more they tried to bury it, the louder your absence became. Like an echo that wouldn't fade. Like a mirror that kept showing them the reflection of someone they no longer recognize without you beside them. They realized that peace cannot be manufactured. It must be earned by truth. And the truth they were running from was you. One day, they broke. Not in a dramatic, visible way, but in the quietest hour when no one was watching, their mask cracked. They finally admitted, to themselves first, that what they lost with you wasn't just a person, it was a soul contract, a divine mirror, a once-in-a-lifetime recognition. And instead of feeling relief for walking away, they felt the deepest kind of regret, the kind that shakes a person awake. That moment became their turning point, a silent vow formed within them, that if life ever brought them one more chance, they wouldn't waste it on silence again. And now, something is shifting. The energy that held them frozen in indecision is melting. They're seeing signs, hearing songs that carry your essence, feeling your presence in ways they can no longer explain away. And the universe is whispering, louder and louder, "This is your window. This is your window. This is your redemption. If you want to make it right, the time is now." And they feel it deep in their bones. The urgency, the grace, the invitation, not from you, but from the divine itself. There's a decision forming in them. And it's not just about reaching out. It's about showing up, heart in hand. No more layers. No more pretending to be okay when they're not. They want to be real with you. They want to tell you everything they couldn't say before. Why they ran, why they lied to themselves, why they couldn't stop loving you even when they tried. They're ready to say the things they were once afraid would make them look weak, because now they understand. It's not weak to love someone fiercely. It's not weak to admit that you were their home. The person you remember is still there, but more awake now. More honest. They may not have all the right words yet, but their heart is writing letters to you every day, rehearsing the moment when they'll finally look you in the eye and say, "I never stopped loving you. I just didn't know how to handle something that felt this sacred. And dear soul, that day is closer than you think. The veil between your heart and theirs is thinning. You'll feel it in dreams, in sudden waves of emotion, in moments when your chest feels tight without warning. That's them. That's the connection. Waking up again. They've been standing on the edge, soul trembling between fear and hope, wondering if the door to you is still unlocked. Not because they expect you to welcome them with open arms, but because they finally understood what it means to lose something sacred. Not just a person, but a divine echo of their own soul. Every lesson since then has been a mirror. Every silence has been a message. And every restless night, a confession of everything they never said. There's a part of them that wants to scream into the sky, asking why it took them so long to see. why they couldn't understand that the safest place they ever had wasn't the illusion of control or pride or ego, but you. You were the peace they spent their whole life searching for in chaos. You were the calm their storms didn't know how to handle. And it scared them. Because how do you hold something so rare without trembling? How do you love someone so deeply without the fear of losing them haunting every step? They weren't ready, not then. But they're learning that love doesn't wait for perfect timing. It just asks for honest hearts. And their heart, for the first time in a long time, is finally honest. They've been talking to people about you, quietly, carefully, testing the waters to see how the world reacts when your name leaves their lips. And what they've found is that no matter how much time has passed, your presence still sends ripples through their chest. They recently had a conversation with someone who asked a simple question. Do you still think about them? And in that moment, they couldn't lie. Their entire body froze, and their silence spoke louder than words ever could. They didn't just think about you, they carried you. You became part of their story's spine. They wonder if you've moved on, if you've laughed without them, if someone else has held your hand in the dark. And while they know they have no right to ask, they still hope that maybe, just maybe, there's still space for them in your heart. They don't need grand gestures anymore. They don't want rehearsed apologies. They just want one chance to sit across from you, eyes raw with truth, and say, I'm sorry for every time I made you doubt your worth. I'm sorry for letting fear speak louder than love. And if there's any grace left in this universe, let it be the chance to try again. You see, this isn't about rewriting the past. It's about stepping into the future with eyes that finally see, with hands that won't let go so easily this time, with a heart that knows what it's willing to fight for. And make no mistake, they're willing to fight now, not just for you, but for the version of themselves that was always brave enough to choose love, but too wounded to believe it could last. They're shedding old skin, walking away from patterns that poison their joy, and every step is guided by the memory of how you once made their soul feel like home. If you're reading this and tears are rising, it's not weakness. It's memory speaking. It's your soul remembering the truth that never needed proof, just permission to bloom again. And maybe this is it. Maybe this moment is the crack in the wall, the beginning of something new, not because it was never broken, but because both hearts have learned how to build again, differently, stronger, together. Imagining it, your face, your voice, the way your energy fills a room without even trying. And in their quietest moments, they rehearse what they would say if they ever stood before you again. Not the kind of rehearsed lines people use to impress or manipulate. No, this is raw. This is trembling. This is a voice that knows it has broken what it was never meant to lose. They've whispered your name into the darkness of their healing, hoping it still carries light. And every day since you drifted away, they've felt your absence, not just in their days, but in their decisions. In every path they've taken, they've looked for your shadow walking beside them, praying that fate would weave you back into the fabric of their story. They've tried to move on, tried to silence the longing by pretending it didn't ache. They buried their feelings beneath distractions, obligations, even other people. But no one has ever reached them. where you did. No one has ever seen the parts of them you touched. There's a sacred imprint you left on their soul, and no amount of pretending could ever erase that. And lately, they've stopped pretending altogether because the cost of suppressing love is too high. It erodes the parts of you that feel, that dream, that live fully. And maybe you've felt that energy too. Maybe you've looked up at the stars and felt a name tug at your chest. Maybe you've woken up from dreams that felt more like messages than memories, because when two souls are truly connected, silence is never empty, distance is never final, and time doesn't dissolve what was written into the spirit. What you two shared wasn't fleeting, it was fated. And now, the divine is stirring again. The winds are shifting. And deep in your person's spirit, they know it's time. Time to stop hiding. Time to stop avoiding. Time to step out of the shadows and return to what always felt like truth. You are their truth. The one their heart recognized long before their mind could accept it. And even if they broke your trust, even if they disappeared without a word, it wasn't because you weren't enough. It was because they weren't ready. But they're learning now that readiness isn't a moment. It's a choice to show up afraid. A choice to speak even when the voice shakes. A choice to love even when love demands courage. They've been receiving signs, they've seen your initials in random places, heard your favorite songs at moments they were questioning everything, felt waves of emotion crashing over them when they thought they were fine, and now they understand. This connection was never meant to be easy. It was meant to awaken them, to burn away their false selves, to bring them face to face with their own resistance, so they could become the person your love always saw in them. And now they're ready to become that segment. If your heart has been waiting for this transformation too. Because what's coming next is not just a return, it's a rebirth. And somewhere between the silence of their own confusion and the noise of the world telling them what they should do, your name began echoing again, not from a place of guilt or fear, but from a place that could no longer be silenced. It started as a whisper in the early hours of the morning when they were too tired to fight their feelings and too honest to lie to themselves. Your voice came to them, not just the sound of it, but the meaning, the memory, the depth, the way you said their name, the way your presence gave them peace even in the chaos of their life. They realized they hadn't been running from you. They had been running from the version of themselves that had once felt unworthy of being loved by someone like you. And now, as they sit in the quiet corners of their own transformation, the mask is gone. They no longer want to appear strong if it means hiding what's truly sacred in their soul. They've begun telling others about you, not as a fantasy, not as a memory they regret, but as the person who changed them. Someone recently asked them, "What is it about this person that makes you act so differently?" And they just smiled. Not the kind of smile you fake when you're trying to move on, but the kind of smile you give when you realize that someone had touched your soul in a way that couldn't be undone. You didn't just love them. You saw them. You stayed when others left. You believed when even they didn't. And that truth has now become a torch they carry in the dark. It's lighting the path back to you. Even if they don't know exactly how long the road will be, they've accepted now that some truths can't be buried, no matter how much pressure others apply. Some love stories don't need approval. They need courage. And finally, they are finding theirs. Surement below if you feel like this was meant for your soul to hear today. Because lately, their energy has shifted in ways others are noticing too. That restless storm inside them, the one that always looked for escape, is now learning to surrender, not to give up, but to give in. To the truth that love doesn't mean control or perfection or performance. Love, the kind you gave, was the safest place they've ever known. And for a long time, they didn't know how to say it. They thought if they admitted how much you meant, they'd lose their power. They'd be vulnerable, weak. But now they know that their strength begins with truth, that hiding how deeply they love you hasn't protected them, it's imprisoned them. And the time has come to speak, not just to you, but to everyone who tried to convince them otherwise, because they're tired of pretending, tired of dodging conversations, tired of living in a halfway version of life where nothing feels real. They've started remembering things they thought they forgot. The exact color you were wearing the last time you met, the way your fingers trembled that night you almost cried, but didn't, the joke you made that made them laugh for hours. But most of all, they remember how it felt to be understood without having to explain everything. To be loved not in spite of their flaws, but through them. That kind of connection doesn't vanish. It imprints. It transforms. And whether you're speaking or not, whether there's distance or silence, your soul has been sitting with theirs through every phase of their denial. And now, that silence feels like betrayal to their own heart. They're starting to miss you out loud, in front of others, without apology. Someone from their circle asked, "Do you still think about them?" And they didn't hesitate. They just said, "I never stopped." And in that moment, something broke. Not in a painful way, but in a way that allowed the truth to finally breathe. Their family heard it. Their friends heard it. And for once, they didn't care what anyone else thought. Because they've realized what you gave them wasn't ordinary. It wasn't replaceable. And it wasn't some temporary fling. You were their turning point. The before and after of their emotional evolution. And as the layers peel back, they're no longer running from the word forever. They're beginning to wonder what it would feel like to rebuild, not from scratch, but from truth. If you're still reading, your angels want you to know this message was never late. It was divinely timed. Because even the people who once judged them are starting to see a change. Their eyes don't wander like they used to. Their energy isn't scattered. Their silence now feels focused, as if it's listening for something they once pushed away. And they've started making decisions they used to avoid. Decisions that require maturity, alignment, and honesty. Because loving you taught them what it really means to choose, not just once, but every single day. They now understand that true love doesn't always come back as soon as you miss it. Sometimes it waits, silently, patiently, watching to see if the lessons were learned. And the biggest lesson they've absorbed is this: love, when real, must be honored. They're ready to apologize, not just to you, but to themselves, for letting fear dictate their choices, for letting pride delay their healing, for thinking that silence was safer than vulnerability. They know now it's not. Because not hearing your voice, not seeing your face, not being able to tell you the smallest parts of their day, it's been torture. A self-inflicted ache they no longer want to carry. And while they don't know how you'll respond, they've made peace with the fact that they owe you the truth, even if it comes late, even if you don't say anything back, because this time, it's not about fixing, it's about freeing. It's about standing in front of the mirror and saying, I loved you. I still do. And I should have said it long ago. So if you've been waiting for a sign, for a shift, for a confirmation that their heart has finally caught up to the love you once poured into them, this is it. It's happening. The transformation isn't loud. It's sacred. It's in the way they've started changing their habits, in the way they walk past familiar places that now feel empty without you. In the way they hear songs and feel their chest tighten, in the way they whisper your name, not in longing, but in reverence. This is their awakening, and you were the one who sparked it. And now, as they sit alone tonight, eyes wide open but surrounded by a silence only your memory can fill, they're finally understanding what their soul has been trying to say for months. It wasn't just about love. It was about divine timing. It was about lessons they weren't ready to learn until everything else collapsed. Because only when they lost the noise could they finally hear the truth, that the one person they tried to forget was the only person who ever saw them clearly, the only person who didn't demand perfection but offered presence, not control, but connection. Not attention, but alignment. You were not just a chapter, you were their compass. And now they are ready to rewrite everything, with your name carved into the center of their future. No more running, no more rehearsing lines, no more pretending they've moved on when every heartbeat still carries your name like a sacred chant echoing through their spirit. They don't want anyone else. Not because they can't move on, but because nothing in this world compares to what you gave without needing anything in return. The way you loved them was divine, and that kind of love cannot be imitated, duplicated, or replaced. It is rare, and now they know it. Now they feel it, and now they want to honor it. They've even thought about how they would say it to you, not in a text, not through someone else, but face to face, eye to eye, heart to heart. I was scared, they would say. I didn't know how to carry something so pure. I didn't know how to be worthy of someone so patient, so full of light. But I see it now. I see you now. And if there's still even one space left for me in your heart, I'm ready to earn it. Through action, through presence, through sacred effort. Because for the first time, they don't want temporary. They don't want pride. They don't want stories to tell their friends. They want you, all of you. Without the games, without the guessing, without the ghosts of their past haunting what could finally be holy. Ha! And maybe you're still hurting. Maybe you're still wondering if it's too late. Maybe you've already tried to forget them. But angels are whispering tonight, not to give you false hope, but to give you divine confirmation that something sacred is happening, that the pain you endured was not in vain, that your tears were seen, counted, and woven into the fabric of this miracle unfolding. Your name was never forgotten, your soul was never abandoned. And all the signs, all the synchronicities, all the late-night dreams, they were heaven's way of preparing you for this moment. The moment where their heart finally begins its journey home. So, dear one, breathe. Let the past stay where it belongs, not as a wound, but as a witness to your strength, your grace, your unwavering love. Because the one you've been praying for, the one you released to the divine, is on their way back, not with empty promises, but with sacred intention. And when they arrive, you won't need to ask if it's real. You'll feel it in their silence, in their eyes, in the way their soul bends toward yours, like a flower remembering the sun, you'll know. And if this message has touched your heart in ways words cannot explain, if your soul feels like it's being held gently in the hands of something higher, then this was meant for you. Don't doubt it. Don't dismiss it. Just receive it. Let it move through your spirit like light through a stained glass window. Beautiful, unapologetic, divine. Type, "I receive this with love," in the comments if your soul knows this is your moment. And if you believe someone else needs to hear this today, share this video with them. You never know what healing it might unlock. Tap the like button if this message resonated with your journey. It helps this reach more hearts like yours. Don't forget to subscribe for more divine guidance like this every week. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an angel message sent straight to your soul. Tell us in the comments what part touched you the most. We read every message, and your voice matters here. And if this angel message blessed your day, and you'd like to support more videos like this, feel free to leave a super thanks. It means the world and helps this sacred work grow. Remember, your healing was never invisible. Your love was never wasted. And your story is far from over. Heaven is still writing. And your next chapter starts now.